Disclaimer. Listen, man, this is for informational purposes only. I'm not a doctor, just a guy who loves digging into this stuff. Always talk to a professional for medical advice. Ever feel like your brain is a freaking pinball machine? Bouncing all over the place, searching for that next hit of excitement. But the second you gotta focus on something important, bam! You're down a YouTube rabbit hole, reorganizing your sock drawer, or suddenly craving a burrito at 3 a.m. If you've got ADHD, you know what I'm talking about. You've probably heard the word dopamine thrown around like a hacky sack at a Fish concert. But what the hell is dopamine, and why is it the key to this whole motivation and focus puzzle? Today we're gonna break it down, man. We're diving deep into the science of ADHD and dopamine, how it affects your brain, why motivation can feel like a mythical creature, and most importantly, how to work with your brain instead of constantly battling against it. Stick around because I'm also gonna drop some serious science-backed dopamine hacks to help you unlock that focus and productivity you know you've got inside.
Check one, check.
Alright, let's start with the basics. What is this dopamine thing everyone keeps yapping about? Think of dopamine as your brain's own personal pleasure chemical, its own little reward system. It's a neurotransmitter, which is basically a fancy way of saying it's a chemical messenger in your brain. It plays a huge role in motivation, reward, and focus. It's what makes you feel good, man. That feeling of satisfaction when you crush a workout, finally finish that project you've been putting off, or even just nail a sweet parking job on the first try. That's dopamine giving your brain a high five. But here's the thing about ADHD brains. They don't always produce or use dopamine the same way neurotypical brains do. It's like having a gas tank with a leak, man. You're putting the fuel in, but it's not getting you as far as it should. Everyday tasks that other people might find rewarding, like, actually doing their taxes on time, replying to emails without starting a new draft and then forgetting about it for a week, or cleaning their apartment before it looks like a biohazard zone. Those things just don't give ADHD brains the same dopamine boost. Studies actually show that people with ADHD can have lower levels of dopamine in certain parts of their brains, especially the prefrontal cortex, which is basically the CEO of your brain, the part that helps you plan, focus, and make good decisions. So when that dopamine is low, it's like trying to run a Fortune 500 company on 2 cups of coffee and a prayer. It's not pretty. This makes it way harder to stay motivated without some serious, and I mean serious, stimulation. It's like your brain is constantly saying, boring, next! Give me something exciting, stat! So, we know ADHD brains and dopamine have a complicated relationship. It's like they're in a love-hate relationship, but mostly hate. So why is motivation such a slippery little bastard for people with ADHD? Let's break it down, man. First, we've got dopamine deficiency. ADHD brains often struggle to release dopamine efficiently, especially when it comes to tasks that don't exactly scream exciting. Think about it like this. You're trying to get pumped for a big presentation at work, but your brain's over there like, nah man, let's watch paint dry instead. That's the dopamine deficiency talking. And because your brain's not getting that sweet dopamine hit from everyday tasks, it goes on a constant quest for it, like a dopamine-seeking missile. This leads to what we call dopamine seeking, which is basically your brain's way of saying, screw this boring stuff, I'm out of here. You start scrolling endlessly through social media, diving headfirst into video games, snacking like you're training for a hot dog eating contest, or just daydreaming about winning the lottery instead of, actually working towards your goals. It's a vicious cycle, man. This dopamine roller coaster also explains why motivation can feel so damn inconsistent with ADHD. You can hyper-focus on tasks you find genuinely interesting, like you're possessed by the spirit of Elon Musk on a deadline. But when it comes to boring or repetitive tasks, forget about it. You'd rather wrestle a bear than finish that spreadsheet. And get this, research actually shows that ADHD brains can have fewer dopamine transporters. Dopamine transporters are like the little mailmen of your brain, delivering that precious dopamine to where it needs to go. Fewer transporters mean less dopamine actually reaches its destination, even if your brain is producing it. It's like ordering a pizza and only getting one slice. It's just not enough, man. This explains why people with ADHD often thrive in high-pressure, stimulating environments. Think about it. Emergency room doctors, stand-up comedians, entrepreneurs, they're all bombarded with novelty, pressure, and excitement. Their brains are basically bathing in dopamine. But when it comes to the mundane, the repetitive, the tasks that require you to sit still and focus for longer than 5 minutes, that's when the ADHD brain starts to tap out. Alright, enough with the doom and gloom. Let's talk solutions, baby. How can we hack this whole dopamine system and finally unlock that elusive beast we call focus? Don't worry, I've got you covered. I'm about to drop some science-backed dopamine hacks that'll make your brain do a happy dance. Hack number 1, break those tasks down into micro wins. Remember how I said your brain loves rewards? Well, it doesn't need to be a big flashy reward to get that dopamine flowing. Even small victories can trigger a dopamine release. So, instead of looking at a massive project and feeling completely overwhelmed, Break it down into tiny, manageable steps. Instead of write a novel, it's write one page today. Instead of clean the entire apartment, it's clean the kitchen sink. Celebrate those small wins, man. Your brain will thank you for it. Hack number 2, embrace the power of body doubling. This is one of my favorite hacks. Research shows that ADHD brains release more dopamine when they're working alongside others. It's like having a built-in accountability buddy. So ditch the solitary confinement and find yourself a study buddy, join a co-working space, or try virtual body doubling. There are tons of online communities and live study streams where you can connect with other people who are working on their own stuff. Trust me, having someone else there, even virtually, can make a world of difference. Hack number 3, gamify everything. This is where things get fun. ADHD brains love novelty, challenge, and of course rewards. So why not turn those boring tasks into a game? Set a timer and see how much you can get done in a certain amount of time. Create a reward system for yourself, like earning points for completing tasks or treating yourself to something you enjoy after you reach a certain milestone. You can even turn it into a friendly competition with a friend. The possibilities are endless, my friend. Hack number 4, move your body. I know. Exercise isn't always the most appealing thing, especially when you're already feeling unmotivated, but trust me on this one, exercise is like a magic dopamine pill. Even just a quick 10-minute walk, a few jumping jacks or some air punches can give your brain a much-needed dopamine boost. Plus, it's good for your body too, so it's a win-win. Hack number 5, try the dopamine sandwich method. This is a game changer, folks. The idea is to sandwich a boring task between 2 activities you actually enjoy. For example, listen to your favorite podcast while you're doing the dishes, or reward yourself with a few minutes of video games after you finish that work report. It's all about tricking your brain into associating those mundane tasks with something pleasurable. And last but not least, hack number 6, fuel your brain with a dopamine-friendly diet. What you eat plays a huge role in your brain chemistry, including dopamine production. Make sure you're getting enough protein, omega-3 fatty acids, and tyrosine, which is an amino acid that helps your brain produce dopamine. Think eggs, fish, nuts, seeds, lean meats, and leafy greens, and lay off the sugar, processed foods, and excessive caffeine. They might give you a temporary boost, but they'll ultimately leave you feeling drained and unfocused. So there you have it, folks. ADHD isn't just about being distracted or lazy. It's a complex neurodevelopmental disorder that affects dopamine regulation in the brain. But the good news is, now that you understand how it works, you can start working with your brain instead of against it. You've got the power to hack your dopamine system, boost your motivation, and unlock your full potential. Listen, I know it's not always easy. There are going to be days when you feel like you're fighting a losing battle against your own brain, but don't give up, man. Keep experimenting with these dopamine hacks, find what works best for you, and remember to be kind to yourself. You're not alone in this journey. Now, I want to hear from you. Which one of these dopamine boosting tricks are you going to try first? Drop a comment below and let me know. And hey, if you found this video helpful, do me a favor and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more brain hacking goodness, and smash that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Until next time, stay curious, stay focused, and keep crushing it. So we've covered a lot of ground today, man. Dopamine, ADHD, motivation, it's all connected, this intricate web of chemicals and neural pathways. But the takeaway is this: you're not a slave to your brain chemistry. You can learn to work with it, to understand its quirks and find ways to optimize its performance. It's like tuning up a high-performance engine. You gotta give it the right fuel, the right maintenance, and push it to its limits in a way that doesn't cause a complete system meltdown. It's a journey, man, this whole self-discovery thing. But it's a journey worth taking. And remember, we're all wired differently. What works for one person might not work for another. So keep experimenting, keep exploring, and keep that dopamine flowing. And hey, if you discover any cool brain hacks along the way, subscribe to my channel. Further interesting videos are coming shortly along the way. I'm always down for a good brain-boosting conversation.